Hello, I'm Ben,
And I'm Ernie.
and this is Budget Nerds.
You are not alone.
No, you are not. All right. Well, welcome. Happy New Year, everybody. It's an exciting time. There's a lot of YNABers coming in, like a particularly lot amount. Is that a word? We've seen some numbers and things are moving, so it's exciting.
Yeah,
Exciting year.
2025, here we come.
I know. I'm so excited. Tell us where you're listening from. Some of you already have. I see Amy from Tennessee. Tired Mum is here, tried and true live person. And I met Tired Mum in the Facebook group. I was like, oh, now I know who you are. But I'm really sad. I forgot your name. So, oh, Jane. It's Jane. Hey, Jane. There you go.
Very nice.
Michelle is in North Carolina. Here's my Canadians coming in. Camille. I'm gonna go with Camille. There we go. Awesome. Thanks everybody for joining. Lindsay in UK. Awesome. It's been the new year for even longer over there. There you go. All right. Well, we have a lot to talk about today, Ernie. What are we talking about?
We're talking spendfulness.
Yeah.
Maybe you've heard that word over the past couple of weeks around here at YNAB. So we wanted to dive into it. What is it? Where did it come from? What's going on here? This is weird. And then we also wanted to talk about the YNAB method because that has changed as well.
It has. And I know it's a big deal. Don't freak out. Because really, actually don't freak out. Because it really is. It's the same principles we're teaching, but we're repackaging it a little bit and making it better for new people, I think. So it's really exciting time. We'll go over all of it. But I wanted to call out a few more people. Mindy in Alaska. That's cool. Oh, transplanted to Oregon. Okay, so you're Alaskan. Yeah, I feel like if you're an Alaskan, you're like always an Alaskan, so you're always gonna say, right? I mean, I'd be proud if I was Alaskan. And Chris is in Virginia, real close to me. Diogo in Portugal, cool.
Folks from all over.
Yeah, I love to see it.
It's like one of my workshops. I mean, it's crazy. You would think, but they're all over the place, especially on Monday afternoons.
Aaron says I'm having a good hair day. I am having a good hair day today, Aaron. It's going well. It was a good day. I appreciate it. I never know when it's going to work out, but it worked out today.
So. Your hair does come up quite often. Like we'll pop on the camera and you're like, yeah, I'm having a good hair day today. I'm like, yeah, absolutely.
Sometimes it works out. Sometimes it doesn't, people are like, what's your hair routine? And I'm like, I don't know. I put conditioner in it and that's about it. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Anyways, all right. So let's talk about spendfulness. This word, I'm going to put it up with shinies on either side. Spendfulness. What does this mean, Ernie? What are we talking about? Let's go over what it is, and then we'll talk about like our process of how we kind of landed here, how we got here.
Absolutely. So it's a state of alignment.
Mm-hmm.
It's an alignment of the way you spend with the life that you want to live.
Yeah, I love it.
It's that simple.
Yeah, it's and I like it's a state. It's like a place that you can be in your mind. You know what I mean? Like a way that you can live. It's not like a thing that you achieve or something that you are done with. It's just a place that you can be. And it is a portmanteau, which is one of my favorite words.
What is that?
A portmanteau.
Please explain.
So a portmanteau is when you take two words and you smush them together. Like I can't think of a single example, but it's spending and mindfulness. Mindful spending, spendfulness. So if you're ever like, what the heck does this mean? Just say, yeah, it's mindful spending. So why did we make up a new word? Why don't we just say mindful spending? Because marketing. That's why. Because if you say, oh, this is about mindful spending, people are like, okay, that's cool, But if you say this is about spendfulness, people are like, what are you talking about? What does that mean? Or they're really annoyed. I don't know. We'll see. So I think it's really about we needed a new word to express this idea, and it wasn't really working for us to say, oh, we're mindful spending, because it wasn't. It's something different. It's something even more than that, I think. It's about paying attention to your spending, recognizing that your spending is important, because your money is an extension of who you are. It's a expression of all the effort and all the time that you put into earning that money. And so, but too often people just kind of forget about it when they get it. Like they get the money and then they're like, oh, I'm just going to spend it however, right? We want to spend mindfully. And that brings about this state where you love the way you spend your money. It's an expression of who you are. And so it is a portmanteau of mindful spending, but it's more than that too. And so I think that's why we needed a new word.
Yeah, because the problem is we tried to redefine budget and budgeting for so many years. I mean, our company name, You Need a Budget.
Yeah.
It's right there, but we couldn't do it. Like that isn't
we finally admitted
battle.
Well, for years and years, yeah, I feel like we were banging head against the wall, being like, "Hey guys, budgeting is awesome." And in fact, I remember when we decided. So there was a point this year where we decided on the marketing team, and it happened elsewhere earlier too, where we're like, we're just not going to say budget anymore. And we and it was hard. It was complicated, right? But it was also really, really powerful because I started saying things. I don't know. I felt like I started talking about how using YNAB is great instead of saying using a budget is great, right? And it's really true. It's so much better because we're talking more about YNABing instead of budgeting.
Yep.
And it's different. It's because the word budget means so many different things to so many different people, but mostly what it means is just tracking. And we're doing a lot more than tracking here. We're actually planning. We're actually being mindful of our spending, right? Ahead of time, not after the fact, right?
I wouldn't be surprised if every single person that is watching right now has had an experience where they start talking about money with a friend or a family member, and they start talking about YNAB. And then they have to, friends or family members say, hey, what is it that you're using? And you're like, it's a budget. Like, you just hate saying it because what
they're like, you just see like the light leave their eyes.
Right. So like you say it's a budget and then everyone's like, but no, it's totally different. And then you go on your YNAB spiel. I'm sure we've all had those moments, right? So
instead of being like, it's a budget, but no, it's not like that. It's not boring and it's not depressive and sad. We're just going to say, hey, we're doing a new thing. We're not a budgeting app. We're a Spendfulness app. And instead of like shutting people off, we're hoping, and we've seen this too, it's played out. We're hoping that it makes people interested and intrigued, and then we have the opportunity to actually talk about all the things we've always talked about, right? With a little more broad listening ears. So that's why.
Because everyone would benefit from learning how to spend their hard-earned money well.
Yeah. I want you to love the way you spend. I want you to not be stressed about it, not second guess every single time you spend money. I want you to be confident and make sure your spending lines up with who you are. And that's living spendfulness, right?
Erin's the lead educator here at YNAB. We've had her on Budget Nerds a number of times. Fantastic. She has one of the favorite lines about Spendfulness, at least for me. Erin said, we're not changing anything. We're just clarifying everything. And I mean, that to me is what Spendfulness is doing. Because I think back to my early days of YNAB when I would give a job to every single dollar. And then I would just sit there and stare at my category balances. And I would like have this feeling of like contentment, peace. And I'm like, what is that? Like, why do I just stare at these numbers and it feels good? That was Spendfulness.
You were experiencing Spendfulness. That's exactly right.
Way before we invented the word.
Yeah. So it's funny because I mean, I'll just say it. YNAB as a company, we've been in a little bit of an identity crisis for the past couple of years because we've had this. We really have, because we've had this rumbling of like, okay, our name is You Need a Budget. We changed our name. I don't know if we didn't announce it. We didn't say like, oh, we're changing our name. You might have noticed we don't say You Need a Budget anymore. We just
we're YNAB.
We're YNAB.
YNAB.com.
Yeah. So we changed our name. We made a commitment to not say budget anymore. and we still say it sometimes, if like it's like in the app, it's still called the budget,
Right, the budget tab.
Yeah, we gotta like reference it, and that might change too eventually. But like, we tried to be like, let's not say budget, but we're like, but what do we say? We talk about spending plans, we talk about this, but like, and that's fine. Like, we can refer to a budget as a spending plan. I think that's actually really good. But like, what are we? Like, what is our product? What's our message to the world? And not just us on the team, but also our community too, because that's a huge part of it, right? That's where like our power comes from, I think, because there's so many people who are so sold out on it. And we're like, oh, we're not a money management app. Like, that sounds just as boring as budget, even worse actually. We're like, we just needed something new. And I think it was in around April last year, Dan, who's one of the writers here, was in a meeting and they were just spitballing, and he said the word spendfulness, and light bulbs went off on everybody in that meeting. Lindsay, who's our marketing person, like freaked out and like ran with it. And I was in a meeting with her, and she said it. First time I remember the first time I heard it, I was like, oh, that's it. That's what we are. And then we were off to the races for like a good 6 months preparing for now. So yeah, it's been a wild ride, but that's why we needed a new word to describe who we are that wasn't we're a budget.
And I'm with you. It fits. And I'm a person who doesn't like new words. Like, when other companies are doing, I'm
these newfangled kids, what are they doing?
Come on. But this one, it just fits.
Yeah. And if you feel that way, if you're like, guys, come on, this is so hokey, like, that's okay. I really do believe, though, people are going to be saying this, like, this isn't just a YNAB word. This is going to be a word that the world will use. And it'll create an opportunity to talk about not just tracking and planning. It'll create an opportunity to talk about how important money is in your life and how it deserves your attention. And that's what it is.
Oh, the other thought I had when thinking about how this fits with our community, I mean, just think of our community. I mean, these are folks who travel, hundreds of miles, sometimes thousands of miles, to get together with other budget nerds, right? These are people who have YNAB license plates, maybe YNAB tattoos. They put YNAB in their vows. Like, we are a unique group of individuals.
Yeah, we should probably address how the title of this show in this podcast,
budget nerds,
it's still budget nerds, because they're like, why are you going to change the name? We're not changing the name.
No,
we just like it too much. I think because we are. The purpose of this show, and it always has been, is for like the most diehard YNABers, right? So you guys get it, okay? Like, it's fine. You can get over the word budget, and that's how we're gonna stick with it. And you're nerdy, so you guys don't have that that aversion to the word, right? But new people who've never used YNAB, who've never paid attention to their spending, they do have an aversion, so we're not going to use it for them. But for us, we got to keep it. We had a lot of discussion about that. And we might change our mind later, but that's where we're at right now.
Who knows? Yeah, and it's gonna be the same old nerdy show, getting into the software, nerding out about it, out about the method, which we're going to talk about a little bit more soon here.
I love this right here. Ted said, "Demure is spendful," and then Tired Mom said, "Don't use the demure meme." I'm actually really sad that you know what I'm talking about, Ernie, right?
I don't actually.
Oh, you don't? Okay,
no.
So like on TikTok or whatever, the kids these days. I don't even. Can I even explain this? There's just a person that said, "I'm very demure, very mindful. I do this." It was funny. I can't explain it. Just that. And so like, I kind of wish that we could have this word out there around that meme was really big, because it'd be perfect to be like, very demure, very spendful. But
I'll have to look that one up afterwards.
Yeah, you'll get it. It's something you have to actually see for yourself. But yeah. Michelle says, "I refuse to remove my budget nerd sticker from my water bottle." You don't have to, Michelle. Although you probably noticed we're rebranding. We're in the process of rebranding. Just we're not rebranding. We're just having new visuals. We have a new intro.
Oh, that intro, I love it so much.
It's
I just,
when I first saw it, I was like, is this too cool for us? I
it
don't
is
know.
too cool. Absolutely. But I don't care. I'm
I don't-
keeping it.
You know
It's,
what? I just need to. We're cool. We're cool guys.
it
We
is
need
so
to
good.
just embrace it. Yeah, but we got that coming up, and we got thumbnails and all sorts of stuff. But the name Budget Nerds sticking around. So yeah, Michelle said, "Are you the Spendfulness nerds?" I mean, maybe. It doesn't have quite the same ring.
No, Budget Nerds just, yeah, there is something about that title.
Yeah.
But who knows? We'll see.
All right, so we talked about what Spendfulness is. Oh, I didn't show the Venn diagram though. I got to show this.
Oh, yeah.
I think that this very accurately displays what this is in a visual. Our community team made this. Okay, there we go. So this is an Instagram post, and this is what Spendfulness is. So you got a Venn diagram, right? On the left, we have how you spend your money. On the right, you have what matters most to you, and where they align, where they overlap. That's Spendfulness. And the idea is, I want this Venn diagram to become a circle where all of your spending lines up perfectly with what matters most to you. So that's what that looks like. There you go. Spendfulness.
Nice.
That is what it is. And how do we do that, Ernie, though? Like what's is there like a method, like a means, like a practice I can do that'll help me
Funny
achieve
you
this
ask,
state?
Ben. Absolutely. Spendfulness is achieved through the YNAB method.
There it is. Yeah. And the YNAB method is give every dollar a job. So along with this release of Spendfulness into the world, we decided to change up the rules, change up the method. Decided to get rid of the rules. We don't have any rules anymore. Y'all know the 4 rules? They're gone. Forget about them. They don't exist anymore. Throw them right out and bring in the new, which is the 5 questions. And I am super stoked about this because, there's been a lot of things with the 4 rules that it has served us so well. I mean, it served us well for 20 years. Right?
Oh, absolutely.
And those principles are still the same in the 5 questions, but there were some problems, just some like things that have changed, shifted under our feet. It didn't feel like it was lining up with what we were teaching perfectly. And some of them had problems, I think, from the beginning, from back like in 2015 when we switched it up. So,
right.
And we've been carrying those problems fine, but like I think we can redefine, make them more clear, make them incorporate all of the YNAB principles a little better. So that's what we did. So we were changing it up. So let's talk about those. Gina says, your rules can't tell me what to do with your money. See, that's interesting. It's interesting you said that, because that's another thing too we're going to talk about. Like, the rules has a bad rap, right? So again, right off the bat, we're kind of like budgets, rules, and it's just like not us,
And we experimented with habits. I mean, do you remember
You'll
when
probably notice that?
Yeah, how long ago was that? Was that 2 years ago where we did the history of the YNAB method?
Oh yeah, that was really funny because we were like, eminently, the rules are going to change. We were sure. We were like, okay, the rules are going to change in like 3 months. So let's make a Budget Nerds episode where we talk about how the rules have changed over the years to kind of prepare folks for like, hey, they've changed in the past and they can change now. Well, 2 years later, we didn't actually change it because
I mean, we did the habits experiment, and I think that connected with a lot of people. But even at the end of the day, after teaching the habits, quote unquote, for months, there was still something that just didn't feel like it was completely us, that clicked fully.
Yeah.
So we just kept brainstorming.
Exactly. So yeah, we kept thinking about it, and then Spendfulness came around, and then things really started to run. But I think we should talk about why we're making these changes. I think we should go through the 4 rules one last time, then we'll never talk about them again. No, we'll go through the 4 rules.
A funeral or of such.
Let's just have like a little, just a little funeral for the 4 rules. No, again, we're teaching the same principles here. We just repackage them a little bit here. But let's talk about some of the problems with the wording and things that I don't know if I want to call them problems. They were just, not setbacks either. I don't know. They were just not quite right.
Yeah. I think the first thing that stands out to me is we realized right away that it's all about rule 1. Like, give every dollar a job. And that rules 2, 3, and 4 were basically some different version of rule 1. So we wanted to elevate that.
Yeah. So give every dollar job is Bay. It's the best. We love it so much. It's not changing. In fact, it is the method. So the YNAB method is give every dollar a job. Like
Yep.
it's the whole shebang. That's what it is. You can say, what does it mean to what does it mean to follow the YNAB method? Give every dollar a job. That's the end. You could end the conversation right there. And that's it, right?
That's where the awareness comes from. That's where you get the intention.
Yeah. So that's the biggest well, maybe the biggest change is like we actually have, and I think it's also really helpful too, because we have a way to describe, a really concise way to describe the YNAB method without being like, okay, well, there's 4 rules and here's all the things,
Right.
Right.
It's so simple. It's just give every dollar job. You're telling your money what to do before you spend it.
Yeah. But somebody new is going to be like, okay, well, like how though? Right. So that's where the 5 questions come in. This is how you do it. And when you sit down to assign money to give every dollar a job, these are the questions you want to ask yourself over and over again. And if you do these things, you're going to find more and more spendfulness in your life. But let's talk about rule 2. So rule 2 was rule 2 was embrace your true expenses. I'm like already forgetting it. So embrace your true expenses, right? So this was a cool term. True expenses, another term that we made up, right? And it refers to non-monthly expenses, things that are going to happen, but they don't happen every month. Sometimes they're predictable and sometimes they're unpredictable. So we want to set money aside for that. So if you have a yearly bill, divide by 12, set that money aside every month, right? And that's the idea. The problem is this is like a super instructive time. Like it's not like spendfulness. Spendfulness is like the what we're talking about with brand new people, right? Getting them interested. When we're talking about the rules, we want to be like really clear. And true expenses was a made up word that it wasn't clear, right? And so you've probably seen us start using the word non-monthly expenses more often than true expenses, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, we wanted to include those things, but also just make it more clear. So we're just going to be talking about non-monthly expenses. We might still use true expenses sometimes where it's appropriate, right?
Oh, absolutely. I still say it every so often.
Yeah, I think it's still a helpful concept, especially for people that only think about their monthly expenses when they think about making a plan, right?
Yep.
Your true expenses involve more than that, but it won't be front and center. And then also, it doesn't include anything fun. In fact, all the 4 rules are really just about mitigating bad stuff. You know what I mean? I think that's a general problem with the 4 rules.
Yeah.
Which is
the car repairs, the big medical bills.
Yeah, and originally that's what it was. I mean, originally rule 2 was save for a rainy day, or like it was like a paragraph that I always tease Jesse because he's like, it was like he was just spitballing, and he was like, sometimes it's gonna rain, and when it rains, it's nice to have an umbrella. So, but for the rule 2 that I knew and loved when I first came to YNAB was save for a rainy day. So it was only about bad stuff. It was about emergency funds, and that's really what all it was about. But since then, we've evolved to talk more about part of your true expenses are a cool vacation or
the aspirational thing.
Yeah, like the fun stuff, or like saving for a new house, or buying a dog, or think cool things like that. And so we didn't want it to just be purely negative things. But rule 2 kind of hamstrung us because that's kind of what it was. Embrace your true expenses only talks about negative things. So it didn't include everything. So that's the problem with rule 2.
Rule 3, roll with the punches. Well, one, we have a boxing metaphor here. Sometimes that takes some explaining.
Boxing's getting more popular now, Ernie.
That's true. Jake Paul, Mike Tyson.
Yeah, man. I mean, maybe people will get it now, but it's a sports metaphor, and we're nerdy, but also it was reactionary. It was all about reacting to overspending. And that's what it was originally too, right?
Yeah, it was a function of the software.
Oh yeah, it wasn't even something that you do. Originally, when it was a spreadsheet, it was just like, hey, if you overspend, we're going to take care of it next month by removing it from ready to assign, right?
Yep. And we all know now, though, the real power of rolling with the punches is when you do it proactively.
Yeah.
When you look ahead and say, oh, I don't have enough money for this thing, let's make a change. Let's make that adjustment in YNAB. So we wanted to get away from just how reactionary it was as promoted as a rule.
Yeah. It's funny because Rule 3, roll with the punches, I think that term has been the longest, maybe the second longest behind give every dollar a job. It's been around the longest.
Mhm.
And it hasn't changed at all in years and years and years. But I think the concept around it has probably changed the most.
So much.
So yeah, I think it's time to update it. So we're what you'll see. The question that involves that is more broad, more not about overspending. It's
And I
about
think not
changes.
only just updating it, but also elevating it. Like we're elevating
Mhm.
one, give every dollar a job, because it is so powerful, especially when you use it in that proactive manner.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Robert said, sadly, rule with punches was my rule 1 for a long time. Oh, yeah, I hear you, Robert. So true. Yeah, I think that's still like a principle that we can all remember and teach. Is a lot of this planning is about rolling with punches when bad things do happen, when you have setbacks, having this like resilience to handle it
Yep.
is a big part of it too. All right.
Rule 4.
Oh boy.
Age your money.
So this has been the most criticized in the community since we changed it back in 2015. Okay, so we've had this iteration of the rules for 9 years now. Is that right? 9 years? Yeah, 9 years. So originally, my rule 4 when I first started YNAB, the first one I learned was live on last month's income. Okay. And so, but I think we had a bit of an overreaction. So one problem with live on last month's income, the old rule 4, was it kind of didn't make sense for people with variable income. Like if you're like, I'm a realtor and I get paid a buttload of money one month and then $0 next month, what does it mean to live on last month's income? Right.
Yeah.
And we're like, oh, that's fair. So we changed it to age your money, to where it's basically just it's not necessarily tied to your last month's income. It's just we want you to get ahead,
Right.
increase the amount of time.
Distance between when you were paid and when you spend that money.
Exactly. Yeah. Biggest problem with this, I think we lost the emphasis. We've never stopped teaching this principle, but we've lost the emphasis on getting a month ahead, which is so powerful. So
Yeah.
huge.
And said another way, I mean, what it means is you're fully funded on the 1st.
Right.
Right.
Exactly.
December 31st rolls over to January 1st. January is fully funded.
Yeah, and that's all it means, right? It's very simple, and check out our episode on emergency fund versus month ahead, which I'm actually going to make a blog about in February. We're planning on blogifying that because I think that's our most popular episode. Is it the one about month ahead versus emergency fund?
That was very popular. Yes,
it was like one of our most popular episodes. So I'm going to make a blog about
I think since then the messy budget.
Oh
has
yeah,
overtaken it. That
really
was huge.
We should do that again then.
Huge.
Oh, we should definitely do that again. Okay.
That was so much fun.
I really enjoyed that. It was like an escape room. It was really fun. It's a little stressful, but very fun. Like an escape room. But yeah, so what was I talking about? Oh yeah, the emergency fund. It's different from an emergency fund. Getting a month ahead is not it is like an emergency fund in that you have some money lying around. If something bad happens, you can use it. But it's more than that, and that all of these silly cash flow problems go away, like things that you really shouldn't have to deal with, like having to time your bills to your paychecks, or like make sure you have enough money in the account to cover this thing the next 2 weeks before you get paid again. No, like just get rid of all that. You don't have these cash flow problems on a month-to-month basis because you have a month of cash saved up and you have it all planned out, right? Before the month even begins.
Yep.
And that makes a huge difference. So it's like an emergency fund, but it's like better in so many ways to get a month ahead. And so we wanted to re-emphasize the concept of getting a month ahead, and that's what we've done here. Also, does anybody remember the grain silos analogy?
I do. That connected with me. I know people make fun of them internally, but
well, okay.
I love the grain silo.
I love the grain silo. I think it explains the concept really well.
Yeah.
But it's like such a slog because it's like, okay, guys, have you seen a grain silo? No? Okay. So a grain silo is, it's just
There have been times in workshops, people ask me, can you explain age of money? And I've pulled out the grain silo and I'm like, as soon as I start the analogy, I'm like, what are you doing, Ernie? Like it just goes sideways so fast.
If you know, you know. I don't know if you guys, we don't use it as much, but it's it's a great analogy, but I think it was emblematic of a kind of obtuse concept that we were trying to teach. It was a little academic, a little hard to explain, and that analogy that we used was emblematic of how it was just a little bit too obtuse, as opposed to get a month ahead, be fully funded on the first, is a little more concrete, right?
Yep. So yeah, numerous problems with the rules. Something else we want to point out, the rules don't account for anything fun. They don't account for goals. And we touched on how Rule 2 kind of became an expression of those aspirations, vacations, fun money, stuff like that. But we really wanted to call out those aspirational things that people are spending on and saving for.
Yeah. Well, let's take a breath real quick and look at some comments before we move on, though. Dana, I really like it. It really disconnects your decisions from your pay cycle. That is so well said, Dana. Like, yeah,
yes,
that's what it is. It's like, I don't want you making decisions based on, do I get paid? Can I, like, do I need to make sure that this bill comes out now or in a week and a half after I get paid? Like, just have the money because you worked on getting ahead to where you could pay all your bills on the first of the month and not even sweat it. It doesn't matter when the bill comes out. All these cash flow issues are gone, and you're not making decisions based on cash flow problems.
You're not in the store, about ready to buy something, making that decision. You're just focusing on that spending moment.
Yeah, and this is this is huge, because if we want people making spending decisions based on the life they want to live, I think getting a month ahead is so key to that, because otherwise you have this distraction of I'm making spending decisions based on my pay cycle and not necessarily based on building a life I want.
Right.
And it's also just so pernicious. Like, it's just all the time. It's just like always nagging at you. And it's just all of your energy and all your focus goes on to pay cycle management instead of what do I want my life to look like,
And I think the finiteness, is that a word? Finiteness of your money is so clear when you're a month ahead. You're like, this is my pot of money for this month. It's not going to be more than this.
That's actually a really good point.
So what do I want to do? Because I can't do everything.
Right. That's a good point. Yeah. It's because then you can kind of imagine, oh, more money's coming in, or you got to like do the math, no, it's just, you got it all there. It just makes everything easier in so many ways. So that's what it's about. It only works if people know how a grain silo works. Exactly. We have to explain how a grain silo works. Then we started using like cereal boxes. It's okay. If you're an accountant, you'll know it's first in, first out accounting, right? That's what it is. But we had to explain that concept. And it's just, we don't need to explain that concept.
I live in Wisconsin. I see grain silos all the time, and I love them.
But do you get inside one? Oh, don't get inside.
That's scary.
You could die. Yeah. It's just, but like, have you seen inside? Because like, you can see a grain silo.
I've seen videos.
I see that things go on top, and I've seen videos. They're actually fascinating. They can blow up.
That's my goodness.
Because grain is like combustible, like it's energy, and they can catch on fire and like explode. It's crazy.
I have this dream, someday Christy and I own property out in the country, and we have like an abandoned grain silo. Like the top is off. It's just got the concrete cinder blocks. Maybe a tree is growing out the middle of it, but I love that.
I love that you have such a clear vision of your grain silo that you don't even use. You could like have like you could like play music.
Are we losing Ben?
Oh, I think I lost you there for Ernie. You're back though.
Okay. I thought I lost you.
You're good internet. You're good. Well, maybe it's my internet. My internet's been weird today, but Ernie's got better internet. We were just talking about that.
Finally.
Finally.
Okay. Where are we going from here? Oh, we're going to go through.
Yes.
The new questions.
Yes. We've been talking a lot about the 4 rules.
Yeah.
But that's all gone. So forget about all that.
That's the funeral.
That's the funeral. All right. Let's talk about the 5 questions. So, First question is reality. What? Oh, wait, I gotta get my banners. I gotta get my banners. All right,
Bring
there's my
those
banner.
banners up.
All
There
right,
we
all right,
go.
there's the banner. Reality. What does this money need to do before I'm paid again? If you've been YNABing for a while, you probably heard this question. It is a staple in the community, staple in the workshops. We've been using this for a long time. It's very grounding, I think, because if you're confused, if you're like, oh, what do I need to handle first? This question just clarifies everything. Okay, what does it need to do? What's the first most important thing it needs to do before my next paycheck? And then what's the next most important thing? And keep going until you get to the end, right?
Yeah, this is covering your immediate obligations, those necessities, things that you have to pay to keep going on with life.
And it might go, might go further than that if your money stretches further than that. But we call this reality because it's supposed to be really grounding and in what you actually need right now. Okay, and this is analogous to Rule 1, I think, too, where you're giving every dollar a job, and we say this money. We're going to define this money as the money you have right now, and that's the key thing too.
And what I love so much about this question is it gives success to everyone. No matter how much money you make, you can address this question and feel good about where you are because you have clarity now. This is what my money needs to do. Here's where these dollars are going. There's no second guessing after you answer this question. It's clear. You have that contentness.
Yeah. Even if this is all you do, you are experiencing spendfulness right off the bat.
Yep.
It's available to you immediately.
Immediately. That's what I was trying to get to. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. I got you, Ernie.
Yeah.
I'm picking up what you're putting down. Stability. That's the next question. What larger, less frequent spending do I need to prepare for? And this is analogous to Rule 2, but we're separating it out. I don't want to get ahead of myself here, but this is specifically about expenses, like the things that I really need to prioritize because they're going to happen, right?
Right.
Like the car repairs and all that.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, so I mean that's pretty straightforward. And this is going to bring more stability to your life. I think you can see that because you're not going to be constantly getting punched in the face all the time and having to dip into savings to cover this and that and all that. And this is what gives you the grounding to build on, right?
And if you can answer questions 1 and 2, and those are the only ones you can get to, those alone are going to be life-changing. Being able to pay for your immediate obligations and also prepare for that future spending. Like I said, it really will be, those 2 alone will be life-changing.
Yeah. So you're going through signing money. What's the next thing you want to do? This is where we talk about getting a month ahead, resilience. What can I set aside for next month's spending? And what I like about this is we're taking a more gradual approach. Instead of like, hey, get a month ahead, that's the goal that you should go for. It's just saying, okay, what money is available to me to start setting aside for next month's spending? And I'm going to keep doing that until I get a month ahead, right?
Right. The goal is fully funded on the first, but you can do that in stages as well. So
yeah,
I love this question. I love that we call it the resilience question, because what that means to me is you have time and space to make decisions. When you're paycheck to paycheck and something drops in your universe that is completely out of the blue, catches you off guard, a really big expense, like that's tough to deal with, right? You don't have extra funds. Maybe you have to wait until that next paycheck to be able to make a decision. But when you're that month ahead, right, you've got breathing room.
Yeah.
So it gives you time. It gives you space to just kind of calm down, find that neutral state, and find a path that works.
I think I lost you there for a second, Ernie. Am I back?
You're back.
Okay. I think it is me because I was having trouble with my internet earlier. So if I drop off, Ernie will take it.
Uh-oh.
All right. Now, a new question and a totally new concept that wasn't in the rules at all. Creation. What goals, large or small, do I want to prioritize? This is where we bring in the fun stuff. So you've built this foundation, right? And you can start adding the fun things. Not that you have to build this foundation fully before it's all happening at the same time, right? But the stability and the reality and the resilience is all going to help you achieve this place where you can actually create the life that you want, right? By funding goals that you want. I mean, you'll notice we said large or small in there, and I think that's a little bit of a nod to the wish farm, don't you think?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
That makes me think back all the way to Jesse's early days as well, where he was setting aside $5 each month for donuts.
Yeah, exactly.
He's like, okay, I want to get through college without any debt, but my goodness, I don't want to deprive myself of everything. So let's prioritize something really small here.
Exactly. Yeah. So, yeah, because I don't want people thinking it's just like the huge things like saving for a down payment on a house or buying a new car. No, sometimes it's just like, I don't know, but buying like a $5 donut, I
Right.
want to be able to do those things, too. So it's the big things and the small things as well.
And part of this too is just to make spendfulness available, or to show that spendfulness is available no matter where you are on the income scale.
Yeah.
Right. Things might be really, really tight, but you still can prioritize those really small things if needed.
Yeah. And I really love that we separated this from the old true expenses idea, because rule 2 was really carrying too much. I think we were trying to like throw everything onto it.
The
And now
aspirational
it's
piece would get
separated.
lost.
It would, or it would be, it'd just be too much on one concept, So we try to pile everything onto true expenses, but now we got these two separate concepts, and one gets emphasized a little more.
And it makes us more opinionated.
Yeah.
Like we want you to have some fun with your money.
Yeah, like let's actually call it out, like in the core method, because we've always taught that, as a really important principle, but it wasn't in the core method, so it doesn't seem as important. It is important. All right, should we go on to the last one?
Last question: flexibility.
Flexibility. What changes do I need to make, if any? So, what I love about this, I don't want to say like the questions aren't like a necessarily like in an order, like you could, like as you're going through, you can ask them at different times and in different ways, different orders. But what I like that we put it last is like it kind of loops around. You know what I mean? It's like, what changes do I need to make, if any? Okay, if I need to make a change, should I go through these questions again? And then you keep going until you hit that last question, and if the answer is no, you're done, right? But yeah, this is the rule 3. So it's real simple. What changes do I need to make? The change might be because you overspent and you need to handle that, or it could be because you need to proactively change your plan because something came up or something changed in what mattered to you. And yeah, really simple. You'll notice this is all very plain language, right?
Yeah, this comment just came up. These questions will make it easier as I try to explain to family and friends.
Yes, that is so true. Like I've sat across the dinner table with people, explain the 4 rules, and I feel a little silly because I'm like, okay, these are like, these are marketing concepts, and we still have like our kind of silly, marketing concepts of like spendfulness. We still have these like catchphrases that are like, meant to like entice, right? Because you need that. But when we're teaching you how to give every dollar a job, we're teaching you how, like the mechanics of how to do this. I want it to be super duper clear. And so that's a big part of it too. We wanted this to be super clear. And this is probably one of the best examples where it's just, hey, you made your plan. What changes do you need to make? And it's like, it's assuming that there's going to be some, and then it's like, but if not, that's fine too. You know what I mean?
Yep. Man, I always highlight this question in workshops, especially for new YNABers, because the practice of giving every dollar a job is really awkward. Do you remember that, Ben? Like,
yeah.
I was so used to forecasting that when I was actually working with the dollars I have, I'm like, this is weird. And
I thought it was stupid. I was like, this is dumb. Like, I like didn't.
Ben was 8 years old. This is stupid. This is stupid.
No, I really did. Like, I looked at the concept because I found YNAB on Steam and I started looking into it, and I was like, it was too much for me because I had been forecasting for so long, But then my wife actually looked into it, and she was like, she was like, this is actually really intriguing, and I see why, because she actually read the stuff. I didn't read the stuff. Maybe if we had these videos back then, I would have been more on board faster. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe.
But yeah, it's brilliant,
And I do remember how awkward it was, because I'd be like, okay, here's a paycheck, give jobs to those dollars. But then I'm like, well, am I going to have enough for these other categories that I haven't funded with the other paychecks that are coming in? And You know, it was weird. And so I always tell folks, you know, especially the new YNABers, you're taking your most educated guess when you're assigning jobs to your money. And nothing is set in stone. As new information comes in, as priorities change, circumstances change, you can always change your plan. You can reallocate, shift money around between those categories. And it's not a big deal. It doesn't mean you're a failure. It doesn't mean you're doing something wrong. It just means you're living life and you're readjusting what your money needs to do for you. That's simple.
Yeah. I mean, the flexibility question and the reality question really connect with each other in this beautiful way, because it gets really hard. Like when you first get a paycheck and you haven't assigned any money yet, it's really obvious. Like you need to take care of groceries, you need to eat, you need to pay for your mortgage or your rent, and yeah, it's obvious stuff, right? But then when you get down to like the last like couple $100 or maybe even less or maybe more, you get down to like the last bit. It's like it gets harder and harder because you might not really be sure, and you don't want to like commit yourself because you're like, well, what if something happens, you know, and I put the money over here, and then and it's like, no, like you can change it. So it kind of frees you up to just make a decision.
Yeah.
And then later you can change it knowing exactly what you're giving up. The point is to actually do it though. If you do it, if you get all the way down to zero, if you do it, then the flexibility question can come in, and you know what trade-off you're making when you do make a change, right?
This is such a stupid little story. It's one of those silly things that YNAB makes us do. Just this morning, I was building January's plan. I had $1.39 left and ready to assign. And I thought forever about where that $1.39 should go. Should it go to groceries? Should it go to comfy bed? And like,
just Venmo me next time, Ernie. I'll take it.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, that's funny. Because you're like, yeah, and you're like agonizing over but that really is true. Like you spend more time on the last few dollars, I think.
Totally.
Because it's harder the further you get, you know, it's less obvious. And that's when you're doing that work. So you're doing this work over and over and over again of, okay, how do I want to assign my money? And the things that are important to you will come out. I have this image of like they're like rising up out of the grass, like, here I am, this is the life you want, right? And it happens, and if you did it once, like you know, it wouldn't really do anything. It'd be like, oh, I guess I like dining out, cool, that's everybody, right? But if you do it over and over and over again for years, you'll find out what you want out of life.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of this beautiful thing because you're making sure that your spending lines up with what you want, but you're also discovering what you want in the process, and it's happening together. And so those let me bring this up again. Those two Venn diagram circles start to converge until they are one, and all of your spending is lining up with the life you want to live. And you know, I don't know, maybe you never get there. Maybe you never get completely converged, but we want to get closer and closer. And it's the practice of giving every dollar a job and following these questions.
And I think another reason that this happens is because what the questions do is they force you to consider everything. I think a lot of times when we think about traditional budgeting, you're so stuck in that month. What's going to happen this month? And you're excluding the aspirations, the non-monthly stuff. But the questions get you to consider all the different types of expenses that you're going to encounter over the course of a year, of a lifetime, really. And so when you do that, then there become fewer and fewer surprises. And so your money gets to actually do what you want it to do then.
Yeah.
Because you're not doing damage control as much.
Right. Or you still have just as many like emergencies, but they don't feel like it.
They don't feel like it.
You're not freaking out all the time, you know, like you're just living your life because you've planned for all of it, right?
And that's why we hear stories all the time from YNAB. We just got one a couple of days ago, Ben, where she wrote in and was like, oh, I forget her name. I'm so sorry. But, you know, I had a $500 car repair. I traveled overseas and I had leftover money. I got ahead, you know, a full month ahead. This was like all these things that she accomplished in 1 year of YNAB. Yeah. And this person had used a traditional spreadsheet budget in the past. And then just 1 year of YNAB transformed everything. And it all goes back to that method.
Yeah, I love it. Well, if you guys have questions, let us know. We've gone over it. I need to call out my sister. This is my sister Trish. She is a landscape, as you can see in the image there.
Trish comes to a lot of the lives. If
I
not
know,
all
it's
of them.
great. It's so great. Yeah, you guys should hear Trish's story. She has Trish, let me know if your is your Instagram still up, the debt-free Instagram, like, because people could go back and look at it. Anyways, these last few dollars stink because I don't want to mess up my nicely rounded out categories. Is that a thing for you, Ernie, where it's like every category has like it's like 0.00, like you don't want like
Nope.
cents in your, you don't, that is
I mean, sometimes I do that, but that's something I actively have to choose not to do because I would get obsessive about it.
Oh yeah. Okay. It's debt-free party. Yeah, check that out if you want to hear my sister's debt story, because it's awesome and she chronicled it all there. Somebody had a question. Let me see. Yeah, Div had a question. In months when you have 3 paychecks, do you guys treat the first or last paycheck of the month as a bonus? That's what I do, because we get paid bi-weekly at YNAB. So 2 times a year we get 3 paychecks in a month. And I've talked about this before, because we used to be paid monthly, and that was perfect for YNAB, right? But then there were like laws we had to follow in some states, so we started going bi-weekly. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna do this thing where like I get the 3rd paycheck and then like I spread it out over several months. I was gonna like spread it out over 6 months so that I used it up and it's like, oh man, it was terrible. So I was like, stop it, Ben, just stop that.
Yep,
don't do that. And just treat 2 paychecks is what your income is, for like your template or whatever. And then when you get a 3rd paycheck, yeah, it's a bonus. That's the way I think. I literally put it in a bonus category. That's a holding category for when my wife and I can talk about how we're gonna divide that money up. So that's how we do.
That's primarily how I use our 3rd paychecks as well. But I also have given myself permission to just do whatever I want with it. And
Ernie's, he's loosey goosey, man.
And there are I have this perfectionist, mentality.
Then you have like this rebellion against the perfectionist.
I don't know. I'm just trying to protect myself here.
It's good.
But just give myself permission to, sometimes I'll use that extra paycheck to cover some overspending in the current month.
Oh yeah.
Or to have a little extra fun, like to go out to eat an extra time.
Oh, I see.
In the current month.
Just the way that you assign it, you're like, I'm not going to necessarily do like responsible things with this. Like I'm gonna
or like I have to assign it to next month sometime, or towards something responsible or quote unquote wise. So
do you count, this is a question, if you know you're getting a 3 paycheck month, do you use the first paycheck for the fun stuff, or do you use the last paycheck for the fun stuff?
I generally use the first paycheck, but I've been trying to transition to the last. I try to hold it off until the last because I have more options then. If I do something with the first one, I might regret some of those decisions at the end of the month.
More time to think about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's actually interesting, because I'll use the first paycheck, but what I'll do is I'll put it aside in a holding category, in like that bonus category, and we won't use it until the following month when we have a meeting. So I guess I'm doing that, but I'm doing it with the first paycheck. Anyways, it's
okay. Can I also say this about that magical 3rd paycheck for the biweekly people? I never got this until I was a month ahead. Like, it did not make sense to me. I'm like, people, this is not extra money, because I was paycheck to paycheck. That 3rd paycheck would come in. I'd be like, oh, this just means I can pay my mortgage before the grace period on the 15th.
Right.
Like it didn't feel extra to me.
Yeah.
But then when I got the month ahead, I'm like, oh, hey, this feels extra now.
Yeah. And Jane said, like, I use mine like normal money, so like if you don't want to treat it like, you could call it a bonus, but like you could use it for regular things instead of fun things. It's whatever you want to do, right? Somebody said, about to make a fresh start. What do I need to keep my old separated from the new? So if you're using like the fresh start functionality in YNAB, if you click that button, it's going to archive your old budget. And literally we say archive, but all it means is it's going to change the name to the name of your budget, parentheses, archived on this date. That's literally all that happens.
You still can access it and use it.
Yeah. So you want to go to open budgets, and you'll see the new one beside the old one, and you can go back to the old one and look at it if you want.
You probably know about this new fresh start feature. I just discovered it last night when I made my fresh start. Now, when you make a fresh start, you have an option to unlink your accounts in the old budget.
Yeah, because this was a problem, was the accounts would still be linked, and it just like get messy because you're not managing it.
Right. I go back to it 6 months later. Oh, what's that ice cream shop we went to in Minneapolis? And boom, I got hundreds of transactions populate in the old
I wonder
budget.
if like, as I know we pay like, I don't know how the infrastructure works, but I think we pay for like each thing. So I wonder if that's part of it. We're like, why are we paying for this to be imported?
Who knows?
Probably not.
It's a
probably
great
not
feature.
any extra. Yeah. But yeah, it's good. Yeah, so I feel like we should review, okay, because we just dumped a lot on everybody. So let's review spendfulness. Okay, it is a state of alignment between how you spend your money and how you want to spend your money, essentially, right? It is a state of how you spend in the life that you want to live coming together, and it's characterized by this feeling of contentment and this feeling of well-being, right? So that's spendfulness. That's the concept. How do we achieve it? With the YNAB method, which is give every dollar a job. How do we give every dollar a job? The 5 questions will guide you through it.
Yeah.
And that's it. Okay. So spendfulness is what we're going after. How do we achieve it? Give every dollar a job. And then instructions on how to give every dollar a job are in the 5 questions. So that's really all it is. Real simple, right?
I want to call out this comment. You both seem so responsible and having so much common sense. Can't believe you were ever living paycheck to paycheck. At least for me, man, that's the power of the YNAB method. Like it rewired my brain with how to think about money, approach money, handle it. Life-changing.
Yeah. Yeah. And I don't feel responsible, but I guess I am. I still feel like, that 20-year-old kid who didn't know what was going on. So I think I always will, right?
Oh, completely.
Yeah, I was actually just thinking, like, you ever have those moments? I mean, maybe you don't, since you're about 10 years older than me, but like, you ever thought this goes, you're like, oh, I'm an adult. I was taking my trash out, and I was like, oh yeah, like I'm an adult. I'm doing stuff. I don't know, but like I feel like I have that mindset of like I'm still that kid, but so much has changed.
Ben, you're not the only person that has family in attendance. My nephew Paxton.
Hey, Paxton. Oh,
I don't know.
Nice. How old is Paxton?
Paxton 13, 12.
13?
Oh my goodness.
Sorry, but
sixth grade.
Okay.
Sixth grade.
Paxton, awesome.
But should I budget my $5 a week?
Okay.
Absolutely.
Do it.
You tell those $5 what they need to do for you.
You should start practicing this right now. I mean, it's awesome. Oh, I'm so glad Paxton's here.
That's great.
How do you handle money in a savings account? What are you saving for? Ask yourself that question. You're going to give those dollars a job too. Add it to YNAB. It'll show up and ready to assign, and say, what am I saving for? And give it specific jobs. And maybe you give it all one job. That's fine too. But give it a purpose. Don't just say like I'm saving to save. Give it a real purpose. And the real way you do that is by giving those dollars jobs too. Easy peasy. Green Ivy says, hey, Paxton, proud of you for doing great things with your $5. Exactly. You're being mindful and intentional. And I mean, if you can get this now, Paxton, I mean, you will, because you got a great uncle, right? Not a great uncle. You got an uncle who's great. Right?
Good distinction.
If you can get this now, man, oh man, the sky's the limit for you. Seriously. All right. Well, we're about at an hour. Should we end it off there?
Yeah, I think so. It's always so sad to
I don't want to
sign off these lives because they are so much fun.
It's like when we accidentally went live and I was like, I don't want to leave. Everybody's here. All my friends are here.
That's right.
Well, let's take one more.
Okay.
One more. This is about what comes first. Should I get a month ahead before I save for a big extra expense that is needed but not totally necessary? I think it might depend on how long it's going to take for you to go after that big extra expense. If you can get it done in like, I don't know, 4 or 5 months, I mean, it might be worth waiting, but don't wait too long. This is getting a month ahead is a goal like any other goal. You're going to have lots of competing goals all the time because your money's finite, right? So you might want to pay off debt. You might want to save for a cool thing like you're doing, right? And so just ask yourself, okay, what do I want more? And if you want to go after the big expense more, that's fine. But I don't want you to wait too long. If you're like, hey, it's going to take me like 2 years to save for this big expense, maybe go after the month ahead first, because I don't want you to live that long without it, right?
Good points.
It's awesome. There you go.
All right, folks. All right, Ben, I think that's it.
Happy 2025, says Mrs. Sawyer. And I think that's exactly the sentiment we want to leave here with. Yeah. It's an exciting year for YNAB. It's an exciting year for our community. Sky's the limit, guys. We finally figured out our identity crisis. We're Spendfulness app. That's what we are.
All right. Looking forward to the new year. Thanks for hanging with us. We really appreciate your support and love.
Yeah. And we'll see you again in 2 weeks.
Spendfully yours.
That's a new one. I love it. Bye, all.